Hello and welcome to the YRV, or Your Rights Volunteer. Today I'm going to be explaining the structure of the Your Rights Volunteer movement, excluding the vast majority of the citizens that will support the structure. This is the structure of the Your Rights Volunteer movement. At the street level, we will have individual volunteers that will be going literally door to door, talking with the citizens throughout the housing communities, gathering the voters, teaching individuals where to vote, how to vote, where to get their information from. This is all part of a different video, so this one section of the city can all be covered by maybe 2 to 4, 6, 8 individuals easily. Okay. And these would basically be individual volunteers. Each of these specific volunteers that canvass these neighborhoods would have a YouTube channel of their own, so that they can prove the vote of the individual citizens. This may be one YouTube channel or multiple YouTube channels, but again, that information is going to be on a different video. This is the lowest portion of the Your Rights Volunteer movement. Let's move up the scale a little bit. This is California. What you was looking at earlier was a single city in the district in the district encompassing Fresno, California. Right? Each district has several cities in them. Some have more, some have less. So a district will be divided, depending on the number of cities, by a few sub-district representatives of the Your Rights Volunteer movement. Okay, so each district can have 5, maybe 10 sub-district representatives, and then above them, sub-district representatives, you will have one, possibly 2 actual district representatives that will tie all of them individuals together, and then all of these individual district representatives will be tied together by state zone representatives that will be tied together by a state representative. Okay, now let's go a little bit further up the chain. Each state representative will be tied together by a regional representative. We can have 3, 6, 7, 8, 10 regional representatives if we need to. Okay, and then these will all be tied to a presidential representative, a Your Rights Volunteer presidential representative. We can have more than one presidential representative if we wind up with more than 10 regional representatives. If we have more than 10 regional representatives, we will definitely have more than one presidential representative of the U.S. Alright, so let's go up a little bit further. Okay, so now we got a U.S. presidential representative. Okay, this will be repeated for each country, continent, around the world in all democratically elected governments. And all of these individual representatives will be tied together by continental representatives that will represent the entire continent. Okay? And just in case there's people living here, we can have one down here as well. And then all of these continental representatives will all be tied together by one individual called the arbitrator. Okay? This ties all the citizens of the world to one specific individual. Now, before you go thinking dictator, let's take a look at the paper model of the Your Rights Volunteer, and I'll talk to you about how it works. Okay, this is what the Your Rights Volunteer movement looks like on paper. Yes, I stole this particular picture off of a pyramid scheme, but it is in no way a pyramid. This structure is no different than the United States government, as it's got a president, staff, state presidents, everything all the way down the line. If you look at Walmart Corporation, you would have basically the corporate head, regional managers, store managers, store employees, maintenance workers, cleanup, everything else, and then the citizens. Basically identical to what we set up. The only difference between the Your Rights Volunteer structure and a actual corporate structure is this individual is a volunteer just like this individual. This individual has no more authority over what goes on in the plan than this individual down here. Every individual in the Your Rights Volunteer is his own boss, is his or her own boss. They are the ones that make the decisions as to what goes on in their section of the Your Rights Volunteer movement. Okay, this structure here is an information and exchange network, and I'll show you how the information and exchange network works real quick. Okay, let's say somebody in a corporation in Texas is doing something really bad that would affect possibly lives of the citizens in Texas, and an individual working in the oil fields over here in Saudi Arabia knows about this information and decides to rat him out. Okay, rather than doing what Anonymous does and post a video and wait for others to find it and repost it if they even care, maybe 1% of all the people who actually watch that video repost it, or maybe 1,000 people watch it and only about 50 repost it. Eventually, someday down the future, the information gets to the people in Texas. But with the Your Rights Volunteer structure, this individual can pull up the Your Rights Volunteer movement, any one of them, find the specific representative that he needs to get in contact with, and within seconds transmit that information to where it needs to go to be filtered down to all of the citizens that are affected directly by the action of the corporation, so that they can force the government to take action against them for whatever crimes they're doing or whatever that may be jeopardizing the citizens, okay, with the information. And because we're not doing any hacks or DDoS attacks, and we are accountable because the government can see that we are in fact citizens of the U.S., and citizens of the locality, they must, by law, find out what's going on, okay, and quickly, especially if lives are in danger. So basically that's how it works. It could work vice versa or everything. Let's say somebody over here finds out that there's a terrorist plot to launch a nuke from here down to here and blow up somebody down there. Well, this information, this guy has the information about the terrorist activities. He can send that information to the representative directly in this location, and that representative can get that information to the citizens that need to know about it to try and find the individuals, or detain the individuals, or at least keep an eye on the individuals while they notify the authority and demand that they go check it out. You get enough citizens showing their face and telling them this is the information we got and you need to check it out, they will, because they can see your face. You don't need to hide, you don't need to be a coward, right? There's no need for a mask. So that's the information and exchange network. That's how information is rapidly transferred from anywhere in the world to a specific location, right down to a specific street corner if it needs to go that specific. Let me go back here a little bit. There we go. We're back on the paper layout of the structure. So what happened? Someone, possibly a citizen, found out some information and then reported it to the specific person that it needed to go to, so that he could inform the citizens within a specific area. And if this area needs to be wider, this individual can shoot that information up here and then have it filtered down through a much wider area and a much larger population if need be. So that's a rapid information exchange going directly to where it needs to go, from one continent to another continent, or one state to another state, or one city to another city, or one town to another town within the same city. Rapid information and exchange. The beauty of the internet. The world connected. Now let's say this is the USSR, this is the Middle East, and this is America. Because all of the citizens of all of these countries, the citizens, not the governments, but the citizens, are all united under one common goal. There will be no need for wars, because we will work things out before the governments can jump to the 18th century go shoot 'em up laws and demand action on not only the part of the government here, but also here. You know, let's say the President of the United States gets mad and calls the President of, or the Sheikh of Saudi Arabia a name, and now they want to go to war. Well, with the Your Rights Volunteer movement, we can get all of the citizens in Saudi Arabia to say, hell no, we won't do this. And that includes even the military, because they will be part of this. And here in the US, we can do the same thing. Hell no. Just because you can't get along with them doesn't mean we can't get along with them. Rapid information and exchange. We will have total control over what our governments do, And I'm going to explain to you how this structure will absolutely remove all corruption within the U.S. government in as little as 1 year once we hit at least 50% of potential here in the U.S. and can do the same as we reach the same potential in each and every individual country of the world that have democratic elections for their governments. Now, I originally made this plan with Anonymous, the group, in mind, because although Anonymous as a group, the way they're structured, cannot fix anything within a government. Their structure is more designed specifically for ripping a government apart. And the best suited thing that the Anonymous could do would be to ignore the U.S., ignore all of the other countries that have democratically elected governments, and focus all of their attention directly on the dictatorships and allow the Your Rights Volunteer movement to fix these up, and then once they wipe out the dictator, then we can get the Your Rights Volunteer structure built within their newly formed government that is democratically elected. Now, a lot of people talk about how the elections are rigged and all that other good stuff. Well, let me tell you this. The Your Rights Volunteer movement has a 100% accountability, or I should say has the ability to provide a 100% accountability for all elections, regardless of anybody stuffing ballots and regardless of anybody losing ballots. So we can prove the vote within a 24-hour period after an election, 100% right down to every single individual voter, which is the only way in the world to get an election corrected by a malfunctioning voter booth, because quite frankly, the way it is nowadays, if a booth malfunctions, they're not going to redo the entire election because it costs millions and millions of dollars to do that. They just go by what the other machines said happened, and they just ignore the rest of it because they all disappeared. Even though the rest of it, if it had gotten counted, the other individual would have won. But we're going to go way, 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 way beyond the voter elections, and I'm going to explain that in a later video. Right now, this one is specifically talking about the Information and Exchange Network and the structure of the Your Rights Volunteer movement. And I think I pretty much covered that. I just wanted to touch one more time on letting you know that this individual is in no way in charge of these individuals. He is a volunteer. He only ties these individuals together. He has no authority to tell these individuals they must do anything whatsoever. If information is passed from him to this person, they must pass the information down to these people. Now, if the information that the arbitrator or the state representative passes to this individual looks it over and says, hey, that's not good, I don't like that, he must still transfer that information to his direct people below him. But he has more than all the rights and authority to say, hey guys, I read this information, you need to read it because I don't think it's proper and something's wrong here. Then they can look at it, and if all of these guys agree that he's being well within his rights and is correct, then and only then can they reverse it and send it back to the arbitrator and say, no, we can't do that here. not the way it is. You have to correct it or change it or whatever. Okay, but the information does need to be passed from you to the individuals beneath you before it can be rejected. Right? That goes on any level, from the arbitrator to a continental representative, or if the information comes from a state representative down to a district representative. It makes no difference. Everybody's equal. You're all volunteers. There is nobody getting paid. You are not mandated to do this. You're a volunteer. So what you volunteer is your abilities to do whatever you can. This structure can be built without taking a single penny out of your pocket. And remember, even though I've talked about the structure of the Your Rights volunteer movement for the last 21 minutes, we have not talked about the citizens or how we plan to get the citizens involved. We have only talked about the volunteers. The citizens I will discuss in a later video. So this is the structure of the Your Rights volunteer movement. There is no dictator. There is no specific individuals in charge. It's all 100% volunteer, and each individual is their own individual leader, and they all make up the rules. Basically, there are a few rules that prevent you from starting fundraisers without getting permission from the arbitrator for your area and everybody in the Your Rights structure within your city, state, or town, knowing that you're holding a fundraiser, so that steps can be made to make certain that a single penny is not misappropriated. There must be accountability for everything that is done. Now, if you're holding a fundraiser, you will have to follow all the laws regarding fundraisers so that no one gets in trouble. We are not anonymous. We are not criminals. We are human beings. We have laws that the citizens themselves voted in to specifically protect them from individuals doing things that are shady or against the law. So you do need to follow the laws. If you don't know the laws, take it up with the individuals above you, and they will take it up with possibly some lawyer individuals that will be volunteering, that will gladly give you information on legalities, what you need to do to make sure you don't get in trouble, and you can do it safely without getting yourself arrested for anything. Okay, 100% within the laws of the land, 100% within the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights. We do not need to be barbaric cavemen living in the 18th century. This is the 20th century. Instant information and civilized life, civilized individuals. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. I was about to say something that I didn't want to, but we're all civilized individuals, and we can fix everything without protesting, without getting people's heads busted, without demanding actions, but actually performing the actions rather than demanding the actions. So I'm going to end this video here, and hopefully in the next couple of days I'll be able to get a second video up talking about how we will be getting the individual citizens in on the plan without asking them to fix the government, because anytime you ask somebody to fix the government, their eyes glaze over, they run their hand over their hair and go, oh my God. They don't want to hear it. Okay? So we're not going to be asking them to fix anything. This is the really nice part. All of the citizens will be more than happy to join into the Your Rights Volunteer movement with how we will be approaching them to get them in on the Your Rights Volunteer movements. And I'll be discussing that on another video. And then I'll be discussing how the existence of the Your Rights Volunteer plan will add trillions of dollars to the budget, to the economic stimulus package, 100% free, without taking a single tax penny out of your pocket, without taking any money out of the government's budgets, and without even affecting a single corporation, regardless of size, profit margins. Trillions of dollars without affecting anybody. Free money that'll go straight into the world economy, the U.S. economy, or whatever economy that the Your Rights Volunteer movement has been built in. Will have trillions of dollars every year pushed into the economy in the form of donations, businesses being built, and jobs being created, without taking a single penny out of your pocket, out of the government's pocket, or even out of the corporation's pocket. Where is this money coming from? I'll explain that in an upcoming video. Just know that it will be there. Don't just subscribe to the channel. Yes, I want you to subscribe so you can get the other videos, but don't just subscribe to the channel. Join in to the Your Rights Volunteer movement. If ever we ask you or tell you you have to do anything, you let me know, and I will be certain to set the individual straight trying to tell you to do something that you don't want to do. Okay? If ever anybody tells you you have to do anything or tries to dictate that you do a specific action, I will personally set them straight. And if we need to, we will gather up the other volunteers and then vote that individual out of the plan altogether and replace them. Okay, that's the reason why I picked this structure, because once it's built, nobody can volunteer forever. If a volunteer can no longer volunteer, they can simply be replaced by somebody beneath them or somebody else that comes in. The Your Rights Volunteer structure itself is not a pyramid where it goes to is dependent on continuous people coming into the plan. There's only a limited number of volunteer positions within the structure of the Your Rights Volunteer. So if somebody can no longer donate time and be a representative wherever in the plan, we can pluck a citizen out, put them in, or have somebody else take over that position until we can find a new volunteer to cover that position. That keeps the Your Rights Volunteer structure alive and strong forever. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions whatsoever about the structure, please ask them. Don't make assumptions. Don't post comments with assumptions. Post comments with questions. Assumptions about the plan that may be misleading will not be permitted, but questions regarding the structure will. Keep your comments civil, to the point, and I will allow every single comment that is there, so long as it is not an assumption that may mislead somebody else to think that the Your Rights Volunteer structure is something that it is not. If you have a concern, ask the question, and I will be more than happy to answer it for you. And please read the previous comments to see if somebody else hasn't already asked that and I haven't already answered it, because it gets a little redundant and answering a question multiple times. Okay? Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you on the next